Are you suffering from spiritual burnout? Are you just kind of tired of all of the endless healing? In this video, I'm going to be talking a little bit about what happens when we go through this in life, as I'm going through right now, and how we can best handle and deal with it to take some of the pressure off. My name's Adam. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Stay tuned because very shortly I'm going to be teaching a class, beginning energy work and hygiene class for artists and creatives. I'll have more information about that, in the next week or so. Okay, so a lot of us going through spiritual awakenings have been healing for quite a while. A lot of people started in 2020 during COVID, but some of us started like many, many years before that. And it's important to understand that this life for a lot of us is a transitional sort of life. It's a cleaning up loose ends sort of life, which doesn't mean that you don't get to like a really amazing like celebration and part of your life. I'm not saying that, but we are going through this epic transformation from one age to the next. Some people say Kali Yuga ended 100 years ago. Some people say it ended in March. I don't know. Either way, fucking thank God it's over. But it ended, and we're beginning a whole other era. Now, from the point of view of the soul, 20, 30, 40 years of a human life to work through a bunch of old stuff is not much. To a human, that's like the majority of the human's life, and it can be absolutely draining. What we're doing in this life is we're basically closing out thousands of years worth of experiences in various themes, most of which sucked complete shit because that's how the past age has been. And we're kind of getting ready and implementing new themes. So we have to let go of a lot of old patterns, ways that we thought interacted with reality, and then begin to understand the new ones without bringing the old ones into the new ones too much. Okay. Now, at some point, if your soul was really gung-ho, and even if it wasn't, but if it was really gung-ho on healing everything and you had a lot of stuff like me, this can become so overwhelming you don't give a fucking shit about anything anymore sometimes. So there's a couple, before I get further into that, there's a couple distinctions that I'd like to make, because one of the things that can get frustrated if you've been on this like constant fucking healing treadmill for like years and years and years and years and years, and you're like so exhausted you can't stand it, and every single day there's like more solar flares and posts on Instagram that there's been this big shift and there's upgrades, and don't worry, it's going to be done in like 3 weeks, and then in 3 weeks, like 5 seconds after it's done, there's going to be another wave of solar flares and 18 more planets are going to go into retrograde. And then as soon as that's over and you can't even breathe, but you barely get to one knee, you're going to be knocked down again, because it just keeps going and going and going and going and going. So if you're frustrated with that, I get it. Something that I do want to point out is it can be a little bit irritating when you see people who are doing really well on this journey. And we're not supposed to compare ourselves to other people, but we all do. And it's not that you're not supposed to compare yourself to other people, because we have to compare ourselves to other things in contrast, or we wouldn't know who we are. But what we tend to do is we look at where people are and then use it as a marker for why we suck. And then sometimes we can get jealous and envious and angry. We don't want to go there. But it is important to make differentiation so we do understand what's going on with us. And my point of making the differentiation I'm about to make is to try to take some of the pain, of the frustration away. So everyone has a different sort of caseload in this endless, infinite journey of constant spiritual expansion. And there's a lot of factors involved in that. What you've done in other lives, what you've been through in other lives on Earth and in other realms and in other universes and on other planets. And for my take on it, it has a lot to do sort of with the age and advancement of the soul. Okay. Now, I sort of in my own like frustrating compare and contrast space that I'm working on will notice what seem to be younger souls who have done a little bit of work on themselves, and then their lives kind of take this magical shape, and they're in the Abraham Hicks like abundant space of like doing really well and living this dream life, and you see them on Instagram with these giant houses and big huge pools and wherever they are, and type abundance in the comment section if you want my free course to show you how to make $8 million overnight, which probably isn't going to happen if you have a whole backlog worth of shit. Now, what they've done is they've gone all in and done their work. But because they're younger souls, they didn't have a whole lot to do. And the universe doesn't really care about your past. It just kind of responds to where you are in the moment. So if you had like a couple things to do and then you cleared it and you're in that abundant space, your life's amazing. If you've had a long history of a lot of stuff, it's gonna be a bit harder. Okay, so my point is not that there's anything wrong with the younger souls. I'm not talking shit about younger souls like at all. I mean, I need that energy. I need younger, fresher perspectives, being super ancient and kind of, frustrated with that sometimes. But it's not that they're better. That's the point I want to make. So you may just have a lot more that you're doing. And that just can kind of suck, but just know that it's not because you suck or you're not getting it or you can't just think positive all the time. That's my really only point with saying that. Okay, so what happens when we get to this space of like, I'm just over it. Like I'm over all day, every day, focusing on spirituality, focusing on healing, looking at my belief systems, looking at the trauma in my body, clearing my energy, changing my mindset, trying to have a positive attitude when the nervous system is being like ground into fucking dust. Well, it's all right. It's okay to just kind of be over it sometimes because you're not actually learning any less when you're over it. And to some extent, you're probably doing a better job because the more you try, the harder it is. And when you're in that space of fuck it, I don't care, you're in a surrender space. You're in a just let go of it space. And it doesn't make you any more or less spiritual. There's no such thing as like, who's more spiritual than somebody else. Spirituality basically just means that you've become aware of the fact that you exist. It's like, congratulations, you realize you're there. I'm here too. That's all that it really means. We're all spiritual, we're all energy, and we're all constantly evolving. So give permission to just be in that sort of teenager, like I've been going to school for like 15 years and I'm not studying this year sort of space. I did that in 9th grade. I was a straight A, not a straight A student, but almost a straight A student. I thought it was because I was smart, and recently I've realized it was just because I was people pleasing and I wanted people to like me, and it was exhausting. I had so much responsibility from the time I was very little, like emotional, mental, spiritual responsibility, and I was constantly trying to get good grades. And when I got to 9th grade, which was my first year of high school, I just fell flat. I couldn't do it anymore. I got like C's and D's, which I'd never gotten. I tried to study. I tried to do homework. I didn't give a fuck. And it was a pretty chill year. And the next year I was like, okay, I want to get decent grades again. And I got better grades. And, then the next year I decided to shoot heroin. But that's neither here nor there. My point is, sometimes that just, I can't do it anymore, is part of the process. It's a really difficult time to be alive. There is a lot we're being asked to do all day, every day, all the time. See if you can find the freedom and not even caring what happens. What if your highest timeline never happens? What if you don't make it? It's not about being apathetic and nihilistic. We don't want to be nihilistic to where we intentionally don't care and everything is meaningless. But it's like, what if you're just like, if I live great, if I die great, I'm doing the best that I can. And when we find that space, we actually find freedom. Because a lot of what's been going on as far as the pressure that we put on ourselves, because that's really what bothers us, is because we're in this giant transitional phase, and because there is this 3D, 5D timeline split, and because there are so many souls who wanted to make sure that they didn't get left behind, there is this immense pressure to work through everything so you don't get left behind in 3D, the 3D dissension timeline. If you're watching this and you want to not be left behind, assume you're not going to be left behind. You're not going to get left behind. Some people say it's like you got to get onto the 5D timeline, or there's a 3D dissension timeline and you recycle. Not true. What happens is, if you have as far as I'm concerned, there are a lot of people very stuck in polarity who will go into a 3D dissension timeline. There are a lot of souls that are just moving on altogether. I'm not encouraging anybody to do that, but what I'm saying is, if you were to leave, you don't have to come back if you know that you don't have to come back. If you know the truth of who you are, there are other options too. So let that just take some of the pressure off of always, like, you made it. Just assume you made it. You made it onto the new Earth timeline. You can chill out now. You don't have to work so hard, because it all goes on forever. The reason so many of us were pushing so hard, like I said, was because we thought we had to like make it to the finish line before we all just got like thrown back into like a descending fucking hellhole. You didn't. You're not. You're not going back down there. So chill out, show up to 9th grade English class in fucking sweats, you know, with the coffee that you're not supposed to drink. Don't bring your books. You know, I'm not saying to be mean to people. I'm not saying to do harm. And I'm not saying to not care at all forever about your whole life. I'm just saying, like, whatever. Because that's self-love too. Spiritual burnout it can just make your life miserable, because then spirituality just becomes this endless job and this endless task. And true spirituality is just finding the joy and the fun in the moment, like a child. You know, it's playing like a squirrel or a bunny. It's not being some perfect, stupid spiritual master that can't ever attain perfection anyway, because it's bullshit. My philosophy is, after the Buddha, you turn into a squirrel. You turn into like a childlike clown, not a crazy, scary, dark clown, an innocent clown, because you turn into the fool. So be a fool. Anyway, I hope this helps somebody. I hope you understand that I'm not like ranting and bitter. I just know what it's like to like just kind of be tired of having to be super responsible on every level all the time, and it can wear you out. So go have fun. Go fuck off, meaning like have fun, fuck off, not like fuck you, fuck off. You know what I'm saying? I look forward to next time. I will be doing an energy clearing class for creatives and artistic people coming up soon. God bless you, and goodbye.